So I guess we can get started. It's 8:03 over here.
Good.
Cool. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. So let's not spend time beating around the bush. So there are things computers cannot do. So they can't dream up a skyline, feel the heat of the steel under the sun, wear a hard hat, or even lead a crew through pouring rain. But for everything else, there's what we call a smart construction. I'm Mahalingam, Senior Manager Pre-Sales at InApp, and I'm happy to be a part of this webinar that takes you deep into how tech and construction are blurring their boundaries and joining forces. Along with me, I have Randall Brous, Chief Client Officer at InApp, and Parvathy Sukumaran, leading the AI and Data Science Center of Excellence at InApp. Now let's get into the business. Smart construction is not just a buzzword. So it's a unified paradigm. It tracks, analyzes, optimizes construction processes in real time. So from planning to procurement, execution, compliance, every data point flows into a single intelligent system. A system which is designed to deliver actionable insights, enhance collaboration, and offer a single window view into your entire workflow. So in short, smart construction makes your construction workflows scalable, measurable, analytics-driven, repeatable, and transparent, making it truly smart. Without further ado, let's hear from our panel on what allows construction and IT to support each other. So to start the proceedings, Randall Brous, Randy, as we call him, we have him with us today, and he's a veteran in the construction industry, and he has a laundry list of businesses he has worked with. So he's a veteran in the domain, a stalwart, we can say. So let's hear from him on what's happening over there. Over to you, Randy.
Thank you, Mahalingam. Veteran and stalwart. You kind of make me sound a little older than I like people to know about. But thank you very much for that introduction. And as we kick off this conversation today, what I really want to do is take a few minutes to focus on the state of the construction industry. I don't want to talk about where we want it to go, but where it really stands today. Really the challenges, the pressure points, the friction. I want to set up the current environment that I know a lot of you are working in, and from that we will extract how some of these technologies might be able to help solve some of these problems. So before we start talking about tools, AI, automation, we really have to understand what the environment is that we're working in. And it's one where traditional ways of building are really being stretched to the breaking point. At InApp, we've worked with construction firms across North America and beyond, as well as construction software companies. And the same themes keep coming up over and over with each of these clients that we're working with. So no matter the size of the company or the kinds of projects they take on. So what I want to do next is I want to get into talking about what the four main challenges are that we're hearing from a lot of these different organizations. And I'm sure most of you are facing these things and you understand exactly what I'm talking about. First up is productivity stagnation. Construction output has barely improved over the last 20 years, even as complexity and demand of construction projects has risen. So it's not uncommon to see billion-dollar projects get delayed by months or by years, not because of structural flaws, but because communication and coordination are breaking down. The other one that I know a lot of you are dealing with right now, especially in North America, is material volatility. Supply chain disruptions, geopolitical instability, inflation, the concerns about tariffs. Material prices have become moving targets. And a lot of the firms we talk to are building estimates with buffers on top of buffers on top of buffers, just to protect themselves when prices change. And when prices spike mid-project, it can wipe out margins overnight, of course. The other one that we're hearing a lot about and trying to help customers with is labor shortages. This industry has a skilled labor problem. Experienced workers are aging out, and younger workers are choosing other paths. So when firms do find qualified people, retention then becomes a challenge. How do you attract digital natives into your construction business and keep them engaged, working the kind of jobs that they have? So this is especially with high risk and long project timelines. We're seeing a lot of this. And then safety concerns always, and maybe that should be number one on my list, is we're still seeing too many job site accidents, too many near misses, and too much reliance on reactive safety protocols rather than proactive. Every incident's a human cost, and often a financial and a reputational one too. But these aren't just growing pains. These are structural challenges, and we're at a moment where ignoring them obviously is not an option anymore. So let's add one more layer on top of that, is your client's expectations. It's something that the folks at InApp know I'm very keen on, is understanding what our clients' expectations are, how to meet them, how to exceed them. Your clients expect faster delivery. They expect tighter budgets. They want more transparency, better documentation. They want sustainability tracking. They want regulatory compliance. So now imagine trying to deliver on all of that while juggling these rising costs, your shorthanded teams, and all of these outdated systems. That's the squeeze the industry is feeling, and I understand probably for a lot of you, you don't even have to imagine it. It is what you're experiencing today. So we hear these phrases, do more with less, thrown around like they're a strategy. But what they really reflect is stress, burnout, and turnover, missed opportunities, risk avoidance, or worse, risk ignorance. So it's not for a lack of effort. This industry is filled with people who solve problems every day, people who do things to fix problems. The problem isn't a lack of hustle, it's a lack of leverage. And this brings us to something that I don't think we talk about enough, especially in the construction business, is the amount of data that is generated by construction projects is massive, and it doesn't get used the most effectively that can be. So if you think about just a single job site, you've got design specs, you've got permit documents, you've got RFPs, you've got weather logs, equipment usage, subcontractor updates, inspection notes. Let's see, can I come up with any more photos, drone footage, punch lists, material deliverables? You've got all kinds of data that's coming into this system. It's a flood of information. But so much of it doesn't ever get used, doesn't ever get put to work. It's stored in a folder, in a spreadsheet, email threads, or worse, someone's memory. And that data has value. It has value to you. It has value to your client, and it needs to be something that gets used. That data, that value needs to be extracted. And so what we often hear at InApp from our customers is, yeah, we'll deal with all that later. We'll put that all together in a zip file and we'll send it to our customer. But later never comes, and when it does, it's too late. The decisions have already been made. What's the value of extracting information from data when your project's already done? So those decisions, the problems have already happened, the decisions have already been made. And so this is where that potential lies, not just in having more data, but in activating it and getting that data to the right people at the right time in a way that helps them make better calls on cost, timing, safety, and quality.
So Randy,
So
sorry for interrupting you at this point. So going back to the
no,
definition
go
of
ahead.
smart. So we are talking about being smart, and you're talking about data. So are you saying that all this data is lying somewhere in some folder deep hidden inside our mailboxes or our laptops itself?
Absolutely. That's certainly what we see. I mean, the AI generated picture on the screen is pretty accurate to a lot of construction job sites. It gets lost. It takes a vacation to someone's inbox, never comes back. And that's where we need to be able to start pulling it together and start using it. And so what we're seeing now is a growing need for infrastructure. More and more companies are acknowledging that what got us here isn't going to get us where we need to go. They're realizing that success moving forward isn't just about hiring faster or negotiating harder or being lucky with materials. Yeah, it's great if you can get lucky, but that isn't a strategy to take on for your material acquisition. It's about changing the way you work. It's about building systems that support smart decisions, connected teams, and faster adaptation when things change. What it really doesn't mean, though, is digitizing for digitizing's sake, because you heard an article or you saw an interview and you think, okay, we got to go do that thing. You have to understand what the business problem is that you're solving. You need to align that technology to the business reality of construction. And that's where transformation becomes possible. Not when you bolt on new tools, but when you rethink the process itself. So speaking of that, what I'd like to do is, if I can, is I'd like to pop up a poll here for the audience to ask you a little bit about your organization's digital readiness. And if we can get that poll up on the screen, that would be great. We'll see if it works. There it is. We'll give you just a minute here to answer the question. So what we're looking to know is, in your organization, in your construction firm, tell us about your digital readiness. And if you don't know what digital readiness is, well, then you can mark that you still rely on paper, I guess. What would you mark, Mahalingam?
From my current work perspective, I may put that we are experimenting with tech personally, but from a construction standpoint, I'm now better than pen and paper. Yeah, I still remember the time when I was constructing my old house, where it was a whole book full of
Oh,
records,
so much
transactions.
paperwork.
Yeah, lots of paperwork.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and close that poll out. Thank you, everybody, for submitting some answers for us. We'll get to the results here in a little bit. Okay. So in just a moment, Parvathy will walk you through how this transformation is actually happening, how data and AI are actually being used, not just to streamline processes, but to reshape how construction gets done. He's going to show us what's possible when you move from a paper-based system to a predictive system, from a fragmented system with papers and documents everywhere to something that's a little more connected together. But what I want to leave you with is, if the challenges I just outlined feel familiar, if they sound like your day to day, you're not alone. And really what's important is that you're not stuck. There are real practical ways to solve problems like this. And that's where the next part of our discussion is going to go. So if you're ready, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Randy. Just a moment, I'm having a technical glitch. Okay. As we saw, construction is plagued with systemic inefficiencies, manual workflows, cost overruns, safety incidents, and fragmented communication. These are not just operational bottlenecks. They directly affect margins, timelines, and reputation. While the use cases are compelling, the real challenge lies in understanding how to implement these solutions technically. I'll take you through how AI can be applied to solve some of the most pressing challenges in construction. We'll explore the algorithms, data pipelines, and AI models that make these use cases possible, and how you can leverage them in your organization. So before we get started, let's take a look at the inference of the poll 2 that we just did. How would you rate your organization's digital readiness? The options were we are digital natives, we are experimenting with tech and exploring but slow to act, rely on paper. So I see a lot of people have opted for digital natives and experimenting with tech. Regardless of where you fall on this digital readiness spectrum, today's webinar will provide targeted strategies to accelerate your organization's advancement to the next stage of digital maturity. So let's get started. Randy spoke about a few specific problems, so let's look at the solutions now. One of the long-standing challenges in construction has been the stagnation in productivity. And the stagnation is often due to poor communication between stakeholders, owners, contractors, site engineers, manual and disconnected processes, paper-based workflow, siloed systems. or frequent project delays due to misalignment in plans, resources, or schedules. Natural language processing NLP, as we know, helps machine process human language. NLP helps streamline communication workflows by developing AI assistants, document parsing, sentiment analysis. You can have chatbots or voice bots to automate the site level reporting, daily logs, safety checklist, just through voice or text. NLP reads through design documents, contracts, RFIs. They can extract key action items and even auto notify relevant teams. Sentiment analysis on meeting transcripts or chat logs to identify tension points or problems in projects or communication bottlenecks. To cite an example, a site engineer decides to dictate a report via mobile, saying section B of foundation was delayed due to lack of cement delivery. Now, NLP can process this, update the project dashboard, flags a potential delay, and notify the procurement in real time. All of this can be done without any manual intervention. The second problem we spoke about was the task scheduling. Efficient task scheduling across a fluid, high-stake environment is no small feat. Reinforcement learning can optimize project schedules by learning from historical data. Much like how humans learn from trial and error, RL is an AI technique that learns optimal actions from historical data. Suppose a crane is delayed due to maintenance. An RL system instantly recalculates the schedule, reprioritizes the task, and minimizes idle time. And lastly, and most importantly, the volatile material cost. This is where advanced time series models help anticipate trends and provide procurement teams with predictive clarity. The time series models can be classic statistical models like ARIMA, exponential smoothing, for data that has clear trends and seasonality. And if you are having data that are nonlinear or missing data or random patterns, there are machine learning models like XGBoost with lag features, random forest regressors, and so on. Or even you can rely on deep learning models like LSTM or deep AR from Amazon, etc., for your complex data patterns. Together, these technologies are creating a digital nervous system for construction, connecting decisions, data, and delivery. When we speak about transformation in construction, two words consistently surface: labor and safety. These are not just operational priorities, they are existential challenges for the industry. Today, skilled labor is in short supply, onboarding takes too long, and upskilling on the job is often reactive and not proactive. But this is where AI starts to shift the paradigm. Computer vision and generative AI can assist in training new workers through augmented reality and virtual reality. New hires no longer need to step into a live site to understand its risk. They can experience it virtually, train safely, and be field ready faster. And there are models like YOLO, you only look once, can be used to detect and guide workers in real time. It's much like a digital mentor standing beside them. On the other end is the safety. It remains a deeply human concern. Despite every precaution, accidents still happen, often because risks are not visible until too late. But AI does not wait for hindsight. By combining IoT sensors with anomaly detection models, we are now able to flag irregular behavior, detect unsafe zones, and intervene before a danger escalates. This is not just about reducing incidents, it is about building a safer, smarter, and more resilient workforce, all enabled by AI. As construction projects grow in complexity, so does the need for the intelligent systems that can keep pace with people and with the dynamic environments in which they operate. This is where advanced AI models are stepping in. Today, the power of data visualization and modeling has moved far beyond 2D plans and even static 3D representations. We are now talking about digital twins, intelligent dynamic models that evolve alongside the actual structure. When combined with advanced AI like 3D neural networks, the system can automatically scan for conflicts, misalignment, or design issues proactively. Beyond the model, AI is also transforming the way we plan and anticipate. Traditional scheduling methods are often rigid and reactive. But when machine learning is fed historical data on delays, disruptions, resource constraints, it learns and adapts. It helps project managers simulate multiple scenarios and choose the path with the least resistance and highest efficiency. AI can work at microscale too, right on the construction site. Tiny embedded models can run on local devices, monitoring machines, flagging unusual vibrations or predicting breakdowns or even preventing unplanned downtime. These edge applications are not just smart, they are self sufficient, fast, and reliable in real world conditions. In essence, advanced AI is quietly becoming the brain behind construction's most complex operations. Before we move on to the next, let's stop to take another question. Uh, let's see, we can have the poll 3 now. There it is. How familiar are you with these technologies in your current role or project? And you have your options there. You actively use BIM and digital twins in project planning. I'm familiar with the terms, but have not applied them yet. I've heard of them, but need to understand them better. These are new concepts. Let's wait a couple of minutes for everyone to answer.
I think I would go with option 3.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you could explain it more to me later.
I would say make it the two of us.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have everyone from digital construction veterans. I saw a few of them, and to someone who's just starting their journey too. So let's make sure everyone gets value from our time together today. And that brings us to the most important part of the discussion: data. Now, while AI models often take the spotlight, the real engine that powers them quietly but critically is the data infrastructure behind the scenes. Without the right data backbone, even the most advanced AI remains underutilized. Think about a typical construction project. You have data flowing in from BIM tools, ERP system, IoT devices, drones, even manual inputs. We saw that in Randy's slide there. Traditionally, these sit in silos, disconnected and delayed. Powerful data engineering pipelines can bring all of these sources together in real time to create a solid data layer. By harmonizing design data with operations data and field data, teams can now see the full picture as it unfolds. Live dashboards provide insights not just on what is happening, but on what to act on. AI becomes actionable when the right data flows in at the right time. But it is not just about central systems. AI is moving to the edge, on site, on devices, and in the hands of people doing the work. Through techniques like model quantization, we can now deploy AI into drones, AR wearables, and mobile devices. This means decisions can be made locally, instantly, and contextually, whether it is a safety warning, a layout correction, or an inventory update. So while data may not always be visible in the final structure, it's becoming the framework of operational intelligence that drives real-time impact at scale.
Parvathy, if I can interrupt, I had a quick question. You earlier you mentioned that this whole data and AI ecosystem can be the nervous system for construction. And it kind of reminded me of, how do we make this so it's less nervous for the people that are implementing it? How do we make it less scary?
Great question, Randy. This doesn't need to be a scary sci-fi plot, right? The key is to simplify. You start with problems that teams actually face, show small wins, quick wins with real data, maybe just getting live project updates on one dashboard or a drone that can count rebar faster than your intern. Build trust in the system, not just the tech.
Got it. Good.
So, and what's your AI roadmap? How do you go about approaching AI adoption? Many AI journeys in construction begin as impressive proofs of concept and then quietly fade into folders named Innovation Lab Archives. The real transformation happens only when we scale. The journey begins with data, not just more of it, but the right kind, structured, contextual, consistent data from across. Then comes the need of an AI stack that is built for the job. We're not talking about generic models here. We need industry aware intelligence, small language models, algorithms that understand what a delay looks like on construction timeline or what a misalignment means in a BIM model. And to sustain this intelligence across projects, scalable MLOps frameworks becomes essential. They are the plumbing that keeps your models relevant, monitored, and continuously learning. But scaling AI does not mean you're starting everywhere. It means starting smart. Target those high impact areas, design inefficiencies or scheduling blind spot or safety concerns, where even incremental improvements can deliver outsized ROI. And finally, the true test, will it work on the ground? AI needs to leave the dashboard and meet the field teams. This is why mobile deployment on wearables, phones, and site devices is not optional. It is how we turn predictions into decisions and insights into actions. Scaling AI is not about pushing more tech, it's about pulling the whole organization into a smarter, faster, and safer way of working. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into AI driven construction. And I now invite Mahalingam back to wrap up the session and connect today's insight to the bigger picture. Over to you, Mahalingam.
Thank you, Parvathy, for that insightful exploration. And before I even start, thank you to my panelists for bringing such depth and clarity to a subject that is shaping the foundations of our industry. Now, what I'm going to do next is to explore how emerging technologies, including AI or data, or blockchain, whatever it may be, are moving from the concept to cash flow, which eventually matters for any business, and how we can turn prototypes and these pilot programs into real operational value, and probably have a guide rail along the way. But before that, I would like to have one final round of inputs from you. So the last, how much, 25 minutes, we have been talking about struggles faced by the construction domain, how AI and data is trying to solve those, all quite a lot of information. But before I proceed further, I would like a quick check from you on making sure we are talking about the ground reality, just to make sure we had the right pulse throughout the discussion. So we'll have one quick poll now to make sure that we are talking about the right problems over the last 30 minutes. And this will also help me fine tune the final round of discussions, which we are going to take up now. So poll, please. So now we go back to the fundamental question. So which is the biggest challenge in your construction project today? So we have been talking about a lot. Randy introduced a lot. Parvathy talked about a lot of the solutions. Now let's look at the actual numbers. Yeah.
You didn't have getting polls in the right order on that list.
Yep. We'll probably wait for 10 more seconds and then look at
Yeah, that inefficient data use. That's the one that I.
inefficient data use. Probably it's a bit biased because of us, but it's always a challenge.
It's true in any business in any place. It's hard to make sure
Yes.
you're using the data most effectively.
Right. So we'll close the poll now. Really interesting results. Cost overruns is among the highest. Inefficient data use, as Randy was just mentioning, now it's the biggest one. But after that, it's cost overruns, delays, safety issues, and lack of skilled workforce. So as much as we love data, we also are wary about the cost. So that's something which is universally
One
applicable.
could argue that the other ones are an outcome of inefficient data use.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So now let's look at how AI or all these emerging technologies are blurring the lines between construction and computing. So we will take insights from what you just said. So we'll essentially break this down into 5 key areas. So we have titled it Demos to Dollars. So whatever is going to exist in our devices to getting revenue from all of them. So let's take them one by one. Okay. Starting with the manual workflows. So this is typically where things begin. So we need to start by accepting the reality that manual workflows, the traditional pen, paper-based processes, they still exist. They are not just slow, they are siloed and inefficient. So that typically happens because there are way too many people handling the data and way too many places where the data is stored and processed and managed. So information is really easy to get lost, and it's a nightmare to coordinate all of these together. So the opportunity cost is huge over here. But if we move one step further and start adopting technology, we get to digital dashboards and estimation platforms wherein we transition from the basic pen and paper to smaller platforms which give real-time visibility to all project data. So we get better estimates, better tracking, better decision making, and faster decision making. And we try to avoid surprises at the middle of the execution. So these are things which typically happen all around. And these tools lay the groundwork for AI to start acting and start weaving its magic. So this essentially starts collecting data over which AI can work on. And if we move one step further, we are talking about an explosive inflow of data. So then we start moving into the big guys, which is the cloud. So we enable cloud onto the whole platform, and we end up with what we call as cloud-based smart planning. So cloud platforms help us store a lot more data, organize a lot more data, spread out our computations a lot, and we end up having less headaches about infrastructure and maintenance and all. So they allow intelligent expansion and collaboration. And multiple people or multiple entities can feed into the same bulk of data in real time. And this helps us to optimize planning or streamline workflows and make sure that everyone knows what's happening and they are not operating in the dark. All of these at scale in highly available fashion. So we started off with manual processes, then moved into smaller dashboards, and now we are into the cloud. So we have a lot of data and a lot of compute. And if we get both of these together, you start running AI or data models on top of that, and we end up with what is called as AI assistant design and scheduling. So it's one of the most exciting applications and one of the most sought after. So they can simulate design options, detect conflicts, ensure compliances, dynamically adjust schedules, create estimates based on forecasts. So quite a lot of things can be done. And the advantage of these platforms is that they are quite agile in terms of responding to real world inputs. And this is a game changer for efficiency and risk management. And once we have all of these, the next step is obvious. Make them take more ownership of the whole process, wherein we have autonomous operations and use of platforms like blockchain, where we look a bit more further out and we start exploring what's happening around this industry and start making things autonomous in the sense that they can take decisions by themselves, respond themselves within guardrails, of course. And whenever we are more concerned about the modification of data, start using blockchains to set up your contracts, create digital twins to mirror every aspect of a project, do mock runs on digital twins, make sure things are happening properly. So all of these can be done if we start embracing these technologies one after the other. So how do we move from demos to dollars? We integrate these technologies step by step, start with the visibility of data, add cloud to make data more collaborative and usable and scalable, allow AI to do its magic, make it do cumbersome design processes or automations, and then just allow it to start thinking by itself for some time. And it's not about replacing people who are doing this now. So that's a misnomer which we need to clear now. It's not about replacing people. It's about helping people do the job quickly and properly and just empower them. So that is what we can do potentially by integrating technology into this domain. So if Randy or Parvathy, you have any remarks to give at this point, I'm open for that. Otherwise, we'll open the floor for questions after this.
No, thank you, Mahalingam. That's fantastic. I think the only thing I'd like to add is that InApp is happy to announce that we are releasing a new fixed price, fixed scope strategic engagement to help our customers explore, prioritize, and plan AI adoption into their organization. In 6 weeks or less, we're happy to come in, evaluate your business processes, evaluate places where there might be great opportunities for automation and the application of AI into your business, present to you an AI solution as well as an opportunity and risk map, and help you understand what it would take to implement that into your organization. So we can provide the technology innovation and the assistance in helping you do exactly what Mahalingam said, is demos to dollars, to get from thinking about AI to actually using it in your organization, and we'll help you with that process along the way. So special offer for anybody who's attended the webinar, please do contact us and we'll get that up to you as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Randy.
See if there's any questions.
Yeah. So we'll open the floor for questions. So let's enable the chat now. And feel free to ask us about how you can automate your processes or any what do you say, guideline concerns you have or any such query related to whatever we talked about today, and we'll be really happy to help you. So feel free to use the chat box and feel free to ask questions. You can either post the question as a public question or you can post it to me personally. Anything is fine with us.
Mahalingam,
Yeah, we got the first question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Randy. You're asking something.
I was going to ask, I think common question is going to be about the expected timeline for moving to an AI-enabled solution.
Yeah. So let's
Maybe
take
we could talk a little bit.
Yeah, we can take the question proactively. So Parvathy would like to take that question.
I'm sorry, I was reading the question on the chat box. So Randy, if you could repeat your
No,
question.
Randy was asking about the timelines that typically come into the picture.
Yeah, so that's a question that we get often asked, right? Like, how much time would it take for me to be an AI-enabled organization? So it really varies depending upon the scale, your current digital maturity, where you are in terms of your data, your complex process, your legacy integration. So it's a so many variables are at play. But if you're looking at a very pilot solution that you want to implement, it would take anywhere between 3 to 6 months for a small pilot solution. But if you're looking at a medium-sized solution, I would say it would take around 9 to 18 months. But if you're looking at an enterprise level solution, it would take maybe a couple of years and a lot of money. So it really depends on what you want to do. So as I said, you can always start small, have focused areas, and then scale bigger.
Okay. So I got another question in the chat box. Not sure if you're also able to see it. So the question is, I have a question on data privacy. So with construction firms often working across regions, how are AI-driven platforms addressing varying data privacy regulations like GDPR, CCPA, etc.? So Randy, would you like to answer that?
Sure, I'll give what I know. Obviously, data privacy and security is priority number one in any technology project. As the world gets more and more broad and spread out, and data becomes so critical to operations, and regulations are so important that privacy and security of your data is the first thing that we look at in any project we work on, AI or otherwise. And so we always use anonymized data where possible. If we can anonymize the data, so even if it leaks, there's no real information there. We try to collect only what's necessary to the project, and and choose platforms that comply with global data privacy standards. And then we always try to use, and Parvathy, you may be able to talk more about this, explainable AI techniques to make the model logic transparent. I don't know if you want to take it from there, Parvathy, with any other.
Yeah, so as Randy said, rightfully, so it's not about not choosing to do AI because you are concerned about your privacy, right? It's about how you use AI responsibly. And there are multiple techniques and considerations that you need to take when you are using AI. One, as he said, is anonymized data, and then collect only what's necessary for you to work on, and choose platforms that are global data privacy standard compliant, and use the models that you can support explainability, and for making high stake decisions, right? Like you can always have keep a human in the loop. You can do auditing for every automated decisions. You can employ federated learning, differential privacy techniques. A lot of those things are there in place to ensure that you don't have to be concerned about adopting AI just because you're concerned about your data privacy. And there is a responsible way that we can all use AI, and as long as we do it wisely, and I don't think there is something that is alarming.
Thank you. Thank you, Parvathy. So there was one other question which came to me in my personal chat box. So one is that question is, how deep should the pockets be when we start incorporating AI? Or in other words, what is the dollars we should expect to spend?
That's a broad question. Yeah,
that's a broad question.
as we mentioned on timeline, it's going to vary widely in cost depending on use case, scale, maturity. I think that's where the fixed price package that I talked about a minute ago is really designed to help you get started with just a single number. You know what it's going to be. You can get the consulting, you can get the plan together, and then you know what your scope will be. So, Parvathy talked about the different sizes of your project. Well, if you don't even know what size your project is, it's really hard to understand what it is, what your costs are going to be. So that's what we want to do, is be able to provide you an easy way to get started, understand what the scope is, what the size of the thing is, and then you can decide where you want to go from there.
Yeah, exactly. So there is no one size fits all as far as AI or any similar technology is concerned. So it's entirely tailored to what you exactly need. So Parvathy, you were about to say something, please.
Yeah, just to add on to that, the place that we can really start is to identify your use cases, right? Like everywhere you want to, you think you can incorporate AI, and then to look at whether you are ready yet to, look deeper into your problem, see if you're ready in terms of your investment, in terms of your data readiness, in terms of your resource availability, and all of that. And then you can actually go about prioritizing your use cases against the ROIs or benefits. You need to define new KPIs. Probably I make an investment for 6 months on a use case, and this is my benefit that is coming up. Maybe it's qualitative, maybe it is quantitative, whatever be the case. So you need to do that cost benefit analysis of your all the use cases, and then you can start from there. So you don't really, I mean, to me, I don't think you have to, wait until your pockets gets really deep to afford AI. Yeah, there are very expensive AI solutions, but I think there is one for everyone.
Yeah. Right. So there's another question in the chat box which asks, the company has access to a large amount of data and we are exploring opportunities for AI integration. So what are some project ideas that we can start with from simple to complex that would provide tangible value? So I would like to start that answer off. So it continues from what Parvathy was just saying. So sometimes there are maybe a zillion solutions we can build using AI given your data, but it's all about prioritizing your business needs. So sometimes your business will badly be waiting for some very simple solution that can help with AI. So that's where the priority lies. It's not about making something small or large. Just make sure you tackle your business properly in such a way that you get the maximum revenue out of it. So that comes as part of the one size doesn't fit all philosophy. wherein you decide what is best for your organization to begin with. Comments?
I think my only comment on that is it's hard to answer the question without understanding exactly what the data is and how it's used. But generally, what we want to look for is a place where you're working with data in an inefficient manner. Is it the process of ingesting the data? Is it extracting the data, importing the data, cleaning it up? What is it that's an inefficient process? Or is it the extraction of it and the reporting on it and the analyzing of it, or how it's being used? Or are you not, is it too difficult for you to extract reasonable value from that data? Does it take too much human effort to do that? Those are all going to be places where we can think about, is there an AI model that could be applied to this, that through automation and through efficiency of a computer knowledge, that we could start generating that value out of the data. So understanding that you have a large amount of data, Alan, is great. And then knowing that there may be AI opportunities, I think that's a great place to start, is you've already identified something that you see value in that you're not currently getting. And so I think that's, obviously we would want to have more conversation to see if we could come up with that list for you of the simple to complex opportunities for working with that data.
Okay, thank you, Randy. So we have another question, interesting question. We have a cloud-based scheduler and order manager. The company we use is cloud-based. So could this speed up our adoption, or is it specific to what they allow for API? So here also, I would like to start off with one simple insight. So when we say cloud-based schedulers and order managers, there are two ways in which they operate. One is the platform itself will be tied into that cloud, or secondly, the platform will be just installed on that cloud. So depending on that, the use case may slightly change, but nowadays, almost all these things are cloud agnostic, wherein we can actually deploy them on the cloud that gives us the best benefit during adoption. So even if your platform is entirely running on AWS or Azure, or even Google Cloud for that matter, and if it exposes some sort of APIs, theoretically, you can build your solution on any cloud as long as it allows you to access the APIs. That's the only bottleneck there. Otherwise, it should be theoretically possible. And some minor hiccups here and there, which is easily solvable as long as we know what to do over there. So it won't be a big concern of that. Randy, want to add anything?
I think the only thing I would add to that is similar to what we talked about with Alan and his data, is understanding in your scheduler and your order manager, where are the inefficiencies that you're not getting, the things that are with the cloud-based vendor that you're working with now, where do you perceive inefficiencies, and then can we apply something to it that would automate that process? So even if they have a limited API, it may be that we can pull data out of their API, perform some process to it that will improve your efficiency, and then send the data back to their API. So there's different types of solutions that we can look at in that context. And I think, even with a scheduler, maybe getting real time from the field updates of changes to your schedule or something like that, that we could then apply some different solutions to that problem.
Right. Parvathy, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, a lot of missing information is there in that question, but if I have to assume a little bit of things there. How easy? I mean, the question was primarily about how easy or the adoption could be, right? The easier the adoption would be, like if you have the data in place, right? As long as the backbone of everything that we are talking about is there in one place, whether it is cloud or if it is in the local premises. That is there, a lot of the remaining things will fall in place. It could be using an API, or is it by creating a custom solution to do whatever you want to do with your data. So if you have those things in place, I think yes, the adoption can be he can speed up the adoption. And the only thing is, when you go for generalized APIs, it becomes very difficult to how it works on your specific use cases. So that's the only thing I would add.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess we have time for one final question, so which is already there in front of us. So one of the major parts is handling dynamic pricing in the materials in the project lifecycle. However, keeping my dealers and vendors pricing is important. So can we solve and predict this pricing strategy as well as keep my data safe? So I think I'll throw that question open to the panel. So either one of you can grab that.
Yeah, pricing, dynamic pricing, and handling that dynamic pricing across your customers, your distributors, your vendors, and keeping all of those changes in line is something that we've worked with a couple of clients on in different industries and how to manage that process. I think absolutely it is something that we can work with you to solve and predict. You know, the prediction process is something that obviously Parvathy mentioned earlier. There's a couple of technologies for being able to do that. And keeping your data safe versus exposing things to your vendors is all part of the authentication mechanism we would build into that, so that you're able to set role-based access controls to the information, so that you can share what you want to share or pull in what you want to share, but then also keep your data as safe as possible. Really would be part of that.
Yeah. Anything to add, Parvathy?
Yeah, in terms of data safety, right? Like, as long as we have an aggregation on your data, it's safe. As we saw in the poll, right? Like, you saw 48% of the people, opted for A versus B, but we do not know who opted for what. So that's the privacy that we are talking about, right? On aggregation of the data, as long as we cannot reverse engineer and backtrack to a dealer information or a vendor information. So we have techniques in place to ensure that those things are protected.
Yep, got it. Right. Yeah. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. And I guess we are running a bit short of time, but in case, yeah, okay, I guess I just got a new question. So currently building a LangChain-based SQL LLM. So how can I ensure that users trust the system? So it's a user trust-based question. So Parvathy, is it something which we can take up within this short time, or can we give an overview now and then take the discussion offline? So what do you say?
Yeah, so I will just give a generic answer to that because it's a wide topic about using LLM and the trust, right? So how do you ensure that the user trusts the system, right? Like, how do you ensure that, what the AI is giving you is the right thing? Or so it really depends on, a lot of monitoring once you have the system in place. You have to have a validation mechanism. You have to retrain the whole thing. So it's AI solutions are not like one-time deployment and you forget about it. It's iterative, right? So once you do it and then you watch the result and then fine tune it, you maybe retrain with a new set of data and maybe reinforcement learning. All of that comes together in play. It takes some time for the system to get into a momentum that the people can trust the answers that is coming from LLM.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Parvathy. So this is essentially what agents are trying to do nowadays, right? Minimize the human role from this. So you said we can deploy the platform and then keep monitoring it, keep a check on the quality, keep a check on the data access. So nowadays, what agentic AI is trying to do is kind of this: keep track, and if there's something which it cannot control, you just raise an alarm and get a human in the loop at that time. So yeah. So that's a totally different and a totally explosive discussion that will take us off track quickly. So I guess I will also stop with that generic answer from my end. And yes, so I guess we don't have any other questions right now. So just to let you all know, so even though we were able to take a few questions, we know many of you have other questions as well. And since we are really running short of time, we will have to close the question session right now. But if there's anything you would like to ask us further, please feel free to drop a mail to info@inapp.com. So apologies that the email is only half visible on the slide, but it is now posted by the admin in the chat box. You can just drop a mail to that and we'll surely get in touch with you. And feel free to get in touch with us for any of these consulting exercises which you would like to have with us. The evaluations of the platforms or AI enablement. So just get in touch with us for anything. And even if you have any further questions or even technical questions, just drop a mail and we'll get back to you at the earliest. Okay. So we are into the last 2 minutes of the webinar. So thank you everyone for attending the webinar. As I said at the beginning, your participation is the biggest encouragement we can get, and having close to more than 50 people listening to us for the past 1 hour has been a recognition in itself. And a special shout out to the panelists, Randy and Parvathy, been really insightful and really helpful for us as well. And if we go back to the first question, where we are in the technology adoption scale, I can now say that I'm digitally native because I got a lot of information for this over the past 1 hour. So I was already on that path, but then you made my day easier. And a special shout out to the InApp team who have been working behind the scenes. They made this experience seamless. And thank you all. Thank you once again for tuning in.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.